Good afternoon. Do you remember freshman orientation day? I remember walking into the Gilmore and seeing the gauntlet. The gauntlet being the rows of tables occupied by banks actively soliciting credit cards to the incoming freshmen. So why do banks do this? Are they really that generous? Do they want you to truly have everything that you want? Or do they simply make money off those who use their credit cards? Dave Ramsey asked this question during his seminars. Do you ever wonder why the names of banks or financial institutions are plastered on skyscrapers in America's largest cities, yet the customer in which they service live in much smaller houses by comparison? My name is Jeremy Hohenstein, and over the next few minutes, I would like to encourage you to eliminate your use and ownership of these credit cards. Instead, use cash, checks, or debit cards as your method of payment. This change will allow you to gain a better grasp on your finances and become debt-free. So what is a credit card? A credit card is a method of payment that allows a borrower to make purchases using a line of credit. The borrower is then required to pay back this line of credit, usually with a pretty hefty interest rate included. In 2020, the average credit card interest rate is sitting at 20.15%. And this is considerably down only due to the COVID-19 pandemic. So why do people use credit cards? The biggest reason people use credit cards is because they bought into the myth that one needs a high or a good FICO score or a credit score. A FICO score, simply put, is your relationship or reoccurring relationship with debt. Dave Ramsey uses the analogy of a dog chasing its tail. Because in order to raise your score, you have to go into debt, and then you have to pay that debt off. But in order to keep it going up, you have to go back into debt, and it revolves and revolves and revolves, just like a dog chasing its tail. Rachel Cruz, on the other hand, explains how you do not need a FICO score. You are still able to get a loan without a credit score. You just have to do a different process. This different process is you have to find a manual underwriter to get a loan through them. And it is out there, and you are able to do that. Another reason people use credit cards is because they currently cannot afford the purchase that they want to make. I encourage these people to save up, have patience, and make the purchase when they do have the money. So why do I believe people shouldn't use credit cards? Because of the temptation. On average, each American household has roughly $8,400 in credit card debt. Now take that and add in that 20% interest, and you can easily understand how this can become an issue for most Americans or anyone in the world. Another reason I don't believe people should use credit cards is because there are better alternatives. The first alternative is cash. When you pay with cash, you feel the money. You feel it, okay? So it's yours, and then you have to give it to a teller, and you actually feel it leaving your hands. This causes a psychological response in your brain. So it is harder to spend the cash. Where, in other words, using a card and swiping it is much easier because you do not feel that money leaving, because it is leaving electronically to where you are not seeing it. When you use cash, you set a spending limit for yourself. Think of this. Say you and your friends go to a fast food restaurant and you're going to buy. Now, if you have a $20 bill in your hands and you got 4 of you, you have to look at the menu and you have to figure out what can we get that when we are totaled up, it is going to be equal or less than $20. With a credit card, you can just swipe it and pay it later. So you are not going to save money. You are usually going to spend more when you use a credit card. Cash does not require interest because you own that object that you buy for. When you pay with cash, you own that object. So you are not paying 2 to 3 times more than what the cost of the object was through interest. Another method of payment is debit cards. Debit cards provide the same protections as a credit card does. A lot of people don't believe this. They believe that you have to use a credit card because it's a safe means. On Visa's website, it specifically says how the debit card has the same level of protection that the credit cards have. Debit cards use your money that's in your account, not money that is being borrowed from a lender. Debit cards allow you the same capabilities of a credit card. You are able to shop online with a debit card. You are able to book a hotel room or a flight with a debit card, just like you can with a credit card. But the biggest difference is that a debit card gets cut off or declined when the money is not in your account. With a credit card, it allows you to spend a lot more and then feel the consequences of that later. In conclusion, COVID-19 is not the only thing plaguing people in 2020. Student loan debt has caused many graduates to have that sensation that they're underwater fighting for air. Do not let credit cards add to this heavy burden. Use cash, check, or debit cards as an alternative payment method. Cancel your credit cards and don't let them drown your futures. Thank you. For my presentational aid, it is cash. I also have a credit card that I do not use anymore and a debit card. Look very similar, obviously have two completely different restrictions on them, but are mostly able to do the exact same thing. One's just the debit card being a lot safer and keeping you in a lot less trouble. And finally, a checkbook. And this is just to prove that this system does work. Last year, I was able to write a check and buy my house in cash, and that just to prove that this method does work if you stick to it. My references are Rachel Cruz at DaveRamsey.com, Sienna Kosman at Balance.com, Dave Ramsey seminar that was offered at Grace Community Church in February of 2020. Visa Incorporated, a press release that they put out on Visas.com, their website, and then debt.org. Thank you.